with the first pick.
Thunderstruck! Thunderstruck! Yeah, Thunderstruck!
Welcome into the Fantasy Rant Podcast. The playoffs are upon us. We have made it. Who would have thought? Season came and went, but we are here. So welcome to the Fantasy Rant Podcast presented by Stadium Rant. I'm Dan Baker. You guys know us already. We got Evan Gooding, Mason Beck, Lee Cook here to give you some playoff advice. We're also going to be talking some Dynasty today. Talk about the Dynasty risers and fallers, starting from right now to next year, who is going to be moving the most. We're also going to give out some regular season awards, and we will be ending this week with the Wheel of Misfortune. So let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into it. We're going to start off with the risers. Why don't you kick it off, Evan, with your Dynasty riser heading into next season?
All right. So my Dynasty riser heading into the next season is from my girlfriend's favorite team over here, the Green Bay Packers. I got Jaden Reed rising. You know, we're seeing him getting so involved in the running game, and he's actually being pretty effective in it. I think that the Packers probably shouldn't do it as much as they're doing, but they're running him a lot, and that's great for his value. And I mean, without Christian Watson the rest of the season, potentially, I don't know how bad that hamstring injury is. I know he's not on IR, but I expect him to miss a few more games at least. I think that Jaden Reed could pop off, and he was 12th round was the earliest round I saw him being drafted in startups last year. I could see him going into the top 6 rounds in any new startups going forward.
Top 6. That is bold. I do love him as a talent. Just the thing is they got 2 guys that are on their second season right now. It's a little bit tough. They aren't going anywhere. Jordan Love is stepping up, though, despite me talking some smack on him about 4 weeks back. Ugly game against the Giants, but
ugly start. He's
starting to show some promise. I do like that pick overall. Reed is just a solid talent, and talent will shine through.
Yeah, I like it as well. I mean, he's a guy that somebody, is going to separate themselves as the go-to guy, in that receiving core. And they've got some talented young players, but I like Reed. I mean, you're talking about, startups. I know in rookie drafts, I saw him going at the end of the second, third round pick. Definitely has paid off and is on the way up.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly really like Jaden Reed going forward. He has a lot of touchdown upside, just his athleticism, his playmaking ability. I think I don't think Green Bay's they'd be dumb to go after any other wide receivers. Dobbs, I mean, he has some games, but he's more of a red zone threat. What it seems like, Dobbs doesn't really get any big plays. Jaden Reed is more the big play guy. Maybe Watson will eat into that a little next year when he's fully healthy, if he can get back to more of his end of his rookie season form. But yeah, no, I'm drafting Reed and startup dynasty drafts for sure next year when I can.
You don't think he'll be in the top 6? What do you guys think? Top 6 rounds? Too early for you?
I think that's a little spicy. Just a little bit spicy, just because of the other talent on the roster at wide receiver. But I do think he'll be top 10 easy. Moving up. What'd you say? You didn't see him any earlier than the 16th?
The 12th. He went in the 12th in our startup.
Oh, okay. We'll see. It's just too much talent on one roster right now at the wide receiver position. I do think it'll be a little bit more evenly distributed. And then on top of it, when they get Aaron Jones back next season, he's not going to see nearly as many touches on the ground as he is right now. But we'll see. He's a promising young talent. All right, let's kick it over to Mason for his riser next season.
All right, so someone I got rising into the next season is Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has honestly showed a lot of promise already. Him and Lamar have shown some pretty decent connection. The one thing that scares me with Zay Flowers is he's dropped the ball a lot. And if he can fix that in this offseason, his production that he's already doing right now is going to improve. Odell's also probably going to be off the team next year. Rashad Bateman, he's actually been stepping it up a little bit more. So we're a little uncertain with him, but Rashad Bateman's not for sure there. So in 2 years, who else? They don't have any wide receivers contracted through 2 more years, I believe, after next season, besides Zay Flowers. And they spent a high value pick on Zay Flowers. he's a talented dude. I can't see him not going up in value throughout this offseason just from them. I don't think they'll really even go after a big name wide receiver, maybe some small guy to fit some positional player.
Right? They always seem to go for those like short, twitchy guys. They got Marquise before they had Zay. Different styled player, even though they're both small, quick guys. I would like to see somebody complement them in that wide receiver room. Get somebody like Phil Collins type, some big 6'4" guy that's a red zone threat. They don't have to only rely on Mark Andrews. But speaking of Mark Andrews, when we've seen him out, Zay Flowers has been producing. He's averaging about 20 points in the games that Mark Andrews is out. I'm firing him up in one of my leagues over Garrett Wilson right now. So that's just me. Take it for what it is, but I do love Zay Flowers. Anybody else got anything on Zay?
I mean, he was taken. I'm looking at that same draft. He was taken in the 7th round by me. I took him a little earlier than ADP as well. I could see him moving up to the top 6 rounds again. I mean, that would only be moving one round for me, but easily he might stay a round or 2 ahead. I expect them to add somebody else though, like somebody a little bit thicker. I mean, they've added big guys before, like Rashad Bateman, but nobody really like that's got some muscle to him.
Right.
The first wide receiver to go in the first round out of Boston College in the history of their university. Just a little random note there. I love Zay. I don't know. I mean, OBJ 1-year deal. Maybe he's back. I could see him bringing in somebody, but with likely the way he's played, I could also see a lot more 2 tight end sets. And Zay's going to be on the field. He's a guy who's developed chemistry. The up and down. He's been a little streaky this year for sure, but he's only going to get better. And he's a guy that just seems to get open. So yeah, I like him going forward.
Sweet. So we'll send it on over to Lee for your Dynasty Riser.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep it in the wide receiver vein, the rookie wide receiver vein, actually. So I like Rashee Rice, Kansas City. He's a guy whose value has already went up a ton. He has shown that he is the only competent wide receiver in the room right now in Kansas City. Even if they bring in a big name guy, how much longer does Travis Kelce have? This offense can certainly support 2, 3 pass catchers. He's just a guy who the flashes as a rookie, with the quarterback he has, long term, you see a future for Rashee Rice that I'm going to make a little bit of a bold prediction. I'm going to have to copy Evan on the bold prediction side. He was a mostly 2nd-round pick in rookie drafts in Dynasty. I'm going to say he has the best season of any of this year's crop of rookies next year. And there's some studs in there, some guys that have performed, but I mean, you got a really high ceiling with Rashee Rice going forward.
Ooh, that is bold. Little too bold for me. Little too bold for me. No, I think he'll be potentially a top 5 receiver, but I definitely not top 3. He's somewhere in the 4 or 5 range for me. I should probably be higher on him. I don't know what it is about him. He's just still I got a bad. I don't know what it is. Bad juju around him. But
I know why you're not high on him.
Why? Because I passed on him. Oh,
Justin Ross.
Hey, back at practice this week, boys. Back at
Still
practice
in your heart,
this week.
man. You can't let him go, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. It's a stinger. But I like
Rashee Rice. It's the opportunity. He's got Patrick Mahomes. They consistently don't bring in wide receivers to help him out. Even when they had the Tyreek and Travis Kelce combo, they could have drafted another young, promising wide receiver and really put that offense completely over the top. They just choose not to do it. Lean on Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure his contract has something to do with that. But Rashee Rice has all the opportunity in the world ahead of him. I do think I'm going to touch on one of these players later on. But I do think that I would put at least 2 of the wide receivers from this rookie class ahead of Rashee Rice for next year. We called it a bold take for a reason, man. I love calling your shot there.
I honestly think that Kansas City they could bring in someone else, but they've never, like Dan was saying, they never really have. But honestly, them bringing in someone else could help Rasheed, could take away a target or two, but it could help him find some open space for him. Tony is pretty much done. I mean, after the offsides mistake, I don't know if Mahomes is ever going to look his way again. But and then Sky Moore is just, he's not the guy that we ever thought he was going to be. So, yeah, I mean, Rashee Rice will at least be the number 2 going forward on Patrick Mahomes' team, and that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Rashee is what we expected from Sky Moore.
Yeah, right. I really wanted that out of Sky Moore. We got a question coming in from Tyler Lamb. He asked originally, who would you guys start in the fantasy playoffs? Gave us this list of players. Tyler, maybe you can follow up. Is this a super flex spot and all of these players are available? If not, if it's a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I'm going with Sam Howell. I think that's going to be a huge shootout this week between the Rams and the Washington Commanders. If it's not a super single QB, okay, so I'm going Sam Howell over Justin Fields. Fields has a tough matchup against Cleveland. So I would roll with Sam Howell in a easier matchup, something that I expect to be a higher scoring game, and something that's it's going to be played in LA, I believe. So the Justin Fields in Cleveland game that's happening in Cleveland. There's reports of gusts of winds getting up to 14 miles per hour. So I would lean Howell of the 2 QBs, and I would personally lean James Cook. I know he's got a tough matchup going up against the Bills, but right now DJ Moore was listed as questionable at practice, and I think the Browns are going to get Denzel Ward back, looking so. Jordan Addison also has not been looking great. So let's go answer the 2 QBs and then the positional players, guys. Who do you think?
I'm going Howell and Cook, like you said. I mean, Addison, he hasn't been doing that well lately. That offense looked miserable last week. That was probably the most boring game I've ever seen in football, 3-0 finish. But, yeah, and just with Justin Jefferson coming back, in an offense that already isn't producing a ton, I'm not trusting Addison at all in the playoffs. I mean, there's some upside to it, but it's not a very trustworthy play.
Yeah, if you saw me take him in the wheel last week, I did not do little sneak peek over here. I did not do that great again this week on the wheel. And Jordan Addison is one of the main reasons why I did not. And I thought he would be doing better, but he didn't have Dobbs the whole game. Nick Mullins is not the answer. I don't know why they're not going to start Jared Hall. That's just I have no idea what they're doing over there. But I don't expect anything good to come out of that offense this week. Maybe TJ Hawkinson.
So I'm going to surprise a little bit. I'm going to go Fields over Howell. And I know that's a tough matchup, but I feel like the floor with the running ability and then the ceiling's going to be a little bit higher. I'm a little worried with how Howell has played lately. The last 2 games, Dallas and Miami, were pretty tough. Again, it pains me to say it, but I would go Fields. I feel like you have a higher floor and a higher ceiling. On the other,
the Browns defense in the past 3 weeks, they've given up the 20th, 18th, and 20th most points to the quarterback position. Over that time, they're the 24th or the 8th most to the quarterback position. They've definitely seen them drop off. I think that's a mixture of Myles Garrett not playing at full strength and Denzel Ward being out for all of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll see a little bit of a change here with Denzel Ward coming back. Hopefully Myles Garrett getting a little bit healthier, but I don't blame you there. Fields is, like you said, high floor, high ceiling. Howell's just a little bit safer of a pick in that matchup, I think.
The other thing I would say with Fields is, he's got 4 games, and whether it be a starting quarterback in Chicago or somewhere else, he's got something to prove. He seems fully healthy. He played really well against not a Browns level defense, but a pretty good Lions defense last week. Where it gets a little sticky, I think I break up the stack. I don't think I play DJ Moore. I think I go James Cook. Looked really, really good. Another tough matchup, but give me Buffalo over Dallas, and they're going to score some points against that Dallas defense. I like James Cook catching at least 6 balls out of the backfield. I look for him in the air more than the ground this week.
I like that.
I agree with you and your starts, Thule.
Very nice, very nice. All right, so we're gonna head into my pick for guy who's gonna see his value increase the most by next season. I'm going with Tyjae Spears. This is a mixture of talent and assumed opportunity. Uh, Derrick Henry, last year of his contract. He's also 15 days away from turning 30 years old. We've seen his production slow down a little bit. I think that's a mixture of the offense not being what it once was a few years back, not quite as efficient, but also the fact that Tyjae Spears is there and he's getting about 54% of snaps on the season. On top of it, with only playing 54% of snaps, right now, Tajay Spears is 8th amongst running backs for targets, 12th for receptions. He's also very efficient. He's got 4.9 yards on the ground per attempt, 3.47 after contact. That is 6th and 4th in the league for running backs with at least 70 attempts. I went with 70 attempts because we're in week 14. That's about 5 rushing attempts per game. So, not asking for a lot. There's some guys out there with not a ton of attempts that could have just crazy metrics from a few big runs, and he's still way up there. On top of it, I did back in last week. We had planned on doing this segment last week, a little behind the scenes, but we ran out of time. We'd be talking. So, so but through week 13, he had the second high. I'm sorry, the third highest missed tackles forced rate. So he forced 21 missed tackles on 66 attempts. That is 3.14 attempts per missed tackle forced. This is per PFF, so take it for what it is. But he is making guys miss. If he gets more opportunity next year, if Derrick Henry is in next year, expect a ton more on the ground, and then expect this usage in the passing game to keep up. That's fantasy gold. And I really think that a lot of people were worried this year after the draft when we heard, okay, he doesn't have an ACL. It was like that's new. That's worrisome. But he's been out there. He's been proving it. I haven't seen him on the injury report at all. So love me some Tyjae Spears. Also, really quick before I kick it to y'all, at the beginning of the year, Fantasy Pros had his Dynasty ADP at RB 62. Right now, his Dynasty ranking is RB 30. I'm expecting that to skyrocket from RB 30 by next season.
Yeah, I saw him. You took him actually into that draft that we were talking about referring to 1309. You took him. I definitely see him as a 8 to 10, definitely 8 to 10 range, and could even go up if he has a good end of season.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this year, even with Henry being on the team, we've already seen Henry's usage go down a lot. He's had 6 games this season where he's had an under 50% snap count. I mean, it's showing that Tyjae Spears he's looking good as a rookie. They're wanting to test him out. This team's rebuilding. Don't think Henry's going to be there next year. I think Spears is going to be the go-to guy for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you look at a lot of production is the system. And not to say he's going to be Derrick Henry, but you look at that system, they like to have that bell cow running back who gets a ton of the carries and they really, leads the offense. Assuming Will Levis is the starter next year, they're going to need it. And that's not a shot at Will Levis. It's just, young quarterback you got to bring up. And to be honest, going back to, the draft and, looking at the Dynasty rookie draft, I love Tyjae Spears coming out of Tulane. He was a guy who just popped to me. I had him ranked a bit higher than most people did as far as rookie running backs. He's a guy that had huge production at a small school. And you see those guys a lot of times come into the NFL and really produce. We'll see. I can't imagine Derrick Henry's back in Tennessee, but with the pass catching ability, he's a guy that he could be a running back 1. He could be a top 12 running back next year in redraft. Obviously, he's not going to be drafted there, but he could certainly produce that with the opportunity given. In my main rookie dynasty draft, I got snaked. 1 pick before me. I had him teed up, was going to get him in the 3rd round, would have been thrilled. And my buddy took him right before me. I ended up with Luke Musgrave, who's been an okay pick, but
Yeah.
Doesn't have the upside of Tajay Spears.
Tajay in the third would have been amazing. That would make a draft right there. All right, so let's kick it over to Evan for whose value is going to decrease the most by the start of next season.
Yeah, and I think that this is just going to be big aspect is going to be age for this one and how many injuries he's facing. After every single play, he seems like he's wobbling off. But Cooper Kupp, there's been some clean plays, of course, and that touchdown last week was great to see from him. But I don't, with Puka's emergence, I think Puka is going to be the wide receiver one going forward. And you can't draft Cooper Kupp in the third round anymore. With that being said, he's going to have to be dropping down at least 5-6 rounds in startups. So I think that's a huge decrease from where he was picked. And, obviously the name value helped him get that high to begin with. But with the injuries coming, the age coming, Puka coming around the corner, I don't see how you can trust him at that value.
Yeah, I mean, he's with Puka's emerging and Kupp's just getting to that age. I mean, he's already been dealing with injuries the past 2 years. He's definitely no first round pick anymore. There's no possible chance that's happening anymore. And I mean, honestly, Kupp could be a 4th, 5th round pick.
Not in Dynasty, like in redraft, you mean?
Yeah, redraft.
Yeah.
It's tough. I don't think by next season he's going to drop off that much. We've seen them coexist well together. Cooper Kupp runs more than half of his routes from the slot. Puka runs mainly from the outside. So I think they can still coexist. I don't know if in a dynasty startup, people are going to start taking a look at that age, and he will drop for sure. No argument there. But I do think that he's still going to have elite production for at least another year. So maybe a buy low target if somebody is in a more of a rebuilding team and you have a chance at the championship next season. I think worth going out and getting him for that one season. But like you guys have been alluding to, definitely the drop off is near. It's coming.
That's where me and you think a lot alike, Dan. Because I was going to say a buy low candidate. I hear you, and I do think his value is going to drop. But I could definitely see Cooper Kupp having a huge bounce back year next year. I think he's the type of wide receiver. It's route running. It's not pure athleticism that he relies on. It's not speed. It's the route running. It's the savvy. It's the footwork, and those things tend to go last. I could see even 2 or 3 more years of really high production. I really think this year has been more injury than anything, and as long as he has Stafford, I could see a big bounce back. I would not mind trading 201. Maybe even 112 for Cooper Kupp if I think I can win it all next year.
I agree with that. I think I'm going to in my dynasty league that I'm the commissioner in, I have no trade deadline. So I might be sending some offers for Cooper Kupp here.
He's gonna drop in value. He's gonna drop in value. Okay, how about this? 3 30+ year wide receivers. We got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, Cooper Kupp. Who are you dropping if you had to drop one?
Hopkins.
Oh, I don't know. I'm higher on Hopkins though. I'm higher on Hopkins. He's the wide receiver one on the team, and I don't see any replacement that's going to come in and take that wide receiver one spot away from him. Cooper Kupp
Trey Lance not going to take it from him.
I really hit or miss all season though. He's been pretty boom or bust. We got let's see, 3, 4, now 5 games on the season above 10 points in a full in a half PPR setting. So I don't know. I'm still leaning Cooper Kupp there for sure. I think that both are going to coexist very well together. And like you said, Lee, Matt Stafford, he makes wide receivers in fantasy. What is it? Something like the top 3 in the past decade has been Stafford wide receivers. So, all right, let's kick it over to Mason, though. Who is your player that's going to be dropping the most in value by next season?
So I'm going Rachaad White. Currently, he's the running back 4, but he's having a hell of a season, amazing season for Rachaad White. But who else is this competition? I mean, his backup is Chase Edmonds and Keyshawn Vaughn, and they drafted Sean Tucker this season. Didn't work out. And there's no way that Tampa does not draft a running back with a decent pick next year, even though Rachaad White has done, there's no way that Rachaad White gets this workload next year. There's no chance that they do not bring in someone, especially if the Bucs are trying to compete in the NFC South, which isn't that good of a division. They just might keep on trying to compete. So I just don't see it. I mean, he has had a good season, but he's not going to get the touchdowns he gets. I mean, he gets a lot of passing work, and he might be the passing back in that team going forward, but I could really see them bringing someone else in who's going to get a lot of the groundwork.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is precedented on them bringing somebody else in. At least I hope, because I don't see if he's still getting this volume of usage another year or two. I mean, I think he's still going sky high. He's rising, honestly, right now. And if nobody else comes in, I can't see what's stopping him. I expected Sean Tucker to stop him, to be honest. I was higher on Sean Tucker. I was big on Sean Tucker, but I think for a fourth round pick, to be big on a fourth round pick, he was my guy. But yeah, I do agree. Like, if they bring somebody in, he's going to drop significantly.
If they don't bring anyone in, though, I don't expect any change at all from him.
Yeah. So good call there.
I could see maybe a veteran, as a backup. But the way they've used him this year, there's so many holes in that Tampa Bay team. This is something I've changed on. I've kind of had I would have agreed with you maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, but the guy's produced. I don't think he's the most talented guy, but I think the opportunity is going to be there for at least one more year. I think he's more of a hold versus a sell high.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that isn't going to go away, and if you're in a PPR league, don't devalue him. He right now has the 3rd most receiving yards on the year, the 5th most receptions. He's caught 48 of 53 balls. That's insane. That's an insane catch rate, even from the running back position. He's not nearly as effective on the ground, only 3.7 yards per attempt, but the guy has been producing. He's been given the volume, and I don't think that receiving role is going anywhere, even if they bring in a guy. So I would agree, probably a hold, but I do think that likely that they bring in another guy, likely that his value takes a bit of a dip.
I think one other thing to consider just real quick is Mike Evans. With his contract being up, he probably moves on, and then you have a whole lot more targets that open up in that passing game. Where are they going to go?
Absolutely fair. Yeah. All right. So we are going to kick it a leaf for his player that's going to decrease by next season.
Yeah. So this is a guy who I mentioned a few episodes back as a sell high guy you needed to trade away in Dynasty. I think it's a bit obvious, but Austin Eckler, he's looked really bad, and some of that is injury. But the biggest thing with him is, he was a very high-end running back coming into the season. I don't know where he was going in startups, but I know, ranking-wise, he was top 5, at least top 10 as far as dynasty running backs. He may not be in the league next year. You have missed your window to sell high on Austin Eckler. If you own him at this point, you got to hold. Hope he re-signs with the Chargers. That's probably the best-case scenario, but there's a scenario where he's on NBC talking about football next year.
I mean, I don't see him not being in the NFL. I think he at least he's shown enough to at least get a chance somewhere. But I mean, just how poor he's done and just the injury concerns, yeah, I don't see him having a starting role next year.
As a Chargers fan, I really want to disagree with you here, but I can't wholly disagree with you. I can partially disagree with you because of, again, what Mason was talking about, how he has shown some skill set, and I don't think he's going to be out of the NFL. I totally agree with that. But I hope the Chargers keep him, and I hope he has a bounce back year as a Chargers fan.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've already seen his value drop. His ADP was RB6, even in Dynasty, and right now Fantasy Pros has him as RB14 in Dynasty, which I still think I think that's even a little bit high considering age and likelihood that he's going to be moving on from a great system for him. Probably won't get nearly as much work on the ground as we're used to seeing in the past few years, but he's still a great receiving back. If you can get fully healthy and then go to a team even just as the receiving back, should still hold some value. But agreed that he's going to drop off hard in terms of RB. There's no way he's the RB14 in startup drafts next season. No shot.
Nah, I mean, unless he goes to like a perfect.
All right, so that brings me to my player here. I got Tyler Lockett as
You guys,
yeah, right. It could be a perfect fit. All right, so yeah, I got Tyler Lockett here as my guy. That's most. We already seen his dynasty ADP from the beginning of this season go from wide receiver 27. Now, Dynasty Fantasy Pros has his dynasty ranking as wide receiver 48. We've seen a big drop off. He's right now 22nd in targets, 18th in receptions, 30th in receiving yards. We're just not seeing that super productive, the super efficient version of Tyler Lockett. So with that going on, with JSN rising, I just really don't see him able to hold his value. On top of it, Tyler Lockett is signed through 2025, but next year his cap hit is $26.8 million. If they cut him after June 1st, his dead cap is only $9.9 million, and that doesn't change through next season or through 2025. His dead cap is going to remain the same after June 1st in 2024 as it would in 2025. So, with that cap hit being so high the next 2 seasons and the dead cap being low after June 1st, high potential that he does get cut. I could see the same thing happening for Geno. His cap hit is 31.2, and if they cut him after June 1st, it's only 8.7 million in dead cap. I think they could cut both players and either decide to add a stud quarterback, either bring them in through the draft by trading up or going after a big free agent name. But either way, JSN on the rise, Tyler Lockett on the fall. Age isn't helping him. So that's my pick for biggest faller heading into next season.
I just want to touch on the Seattle quarterback situation. I don't know if you guys watched the Niners Seahawks game. Drew Lock looked good against the Niners defense. I mean, honestly, he was making some good throws.
He did look good.
And so, like you said, Geno could be gone if they, feel confident in Drew Lock and want to compete or draft some other guy. But I would love to see Lockett's value finally die as a Niner fan. I'm tired of watching him year after year. But yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be JSN and DK going forward there, most likely. I mean, maybe Lockett finds 1 or 2 year deals with somewhere, but nothing that's going to give him like major value.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, I think he's a guy who last year, 2022 season, was probably the last year where he was truly a valuable asset. The writing was on the wall when they drafted JSN. Happened a little quicker than what I think a lot of people might have thought. That offense cannot sustain 3 receivers. Not with Geno Smith playing the way he is. He's ran over that, or he's ran off of that age cliff. Yeah, he's a guy he's not going to be a startable wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 at any point in his career going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely going to drop a little, but I mean, my value personally, I had him low too, so he's right around where I think he'll hold that low value again next year. But he could drop tremendously as well, especially if they caught him. I don't think another team wants him.
All right, that's going to bring us into the award show we got going on for the regular season of this year. Redraft award show. We won't drag this on too long, but we got some interesting categories here. I'll kick it off with Mr. Reliable. It does stink that it seems like he's might be injured heading into this week, but Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has been carrying teams the entire regular season. He has had he's been a top 6 wide receiver, so not just the wide receiver 1, but a top half of the wide receiver 1 in 9 of 12 games through week 13. Guy's been a stud, and if you've had him, most likely you're in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, no, Tyreek's been the guy when I'm matching up against him. I'm like, oh, damn, I'm playing against Tyreek.
Right. It's nerve-wracking. And I'm hoping, Evan, he's going to be held out of our matchup potentially in the playoffs next week.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't think. I mean, he shouldn't have been held out that one game. If he stayed in that whole game like he wanted to, he was running off the field, but Mike McDaniel didn't want to throw him back in there. I think they would have won the game. He was making plays the second that they put him back in.
He's, in my opinion, he has an actual argument for NFL MVP. I mean, same page?
I was just about to say that, Dan. Like, this is scary at this point. I was literally going to say he's my MVP. I think Monday night really kind of solidifies it. I think you've got a lot of quarterbacks, and it is a quarterback award, but, those guys are kind of neck and neck. No offense to Mason and Brock Purdy, but I don't see a player in the NFL that's more valuable to his team than Tyreek Hill.
I mean, you could argue
agree with
Christian McCaffrey, but same reason. It's a quarterback award.
Right.
Yeah.
I really hope that we see eventually in our lifetime not go to like just Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whoever the hell,
Yeah, this is the season to do it, and they're not going to do it. They're going to give it to Brock, which I'm not going to complain about, but
They're going to give it to Dak because they love the Cowboys.
I mean,
slammed
he
Jackson.
I'm not
does
happy
kind of
about it.
deserve it. Of any of the QBs, I do think he kind of deserves it. But we're gonna kick it over to Lee here for the Boom or Bust award.
All right, the boom or bust. Shoot, I don't have that.
Yeah, I
Is
can
that-
take it over here.
Oh, don't worry,
We got,
I got you. All right, so
Sorry, I don't have it pulled up.
Oh no, you're good. We got
No worries.
Jamar Chase though as the boomer bust. 0 games as a wide receiver 2, so no mid-tier games at all. 5 games as wide receiver 1, 8 games as wide receiver 3 or worse. So that is pretty much the definite example of boomer bust. Nowhere in the middle, always on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't expect him to come back and get this title again next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, Chase has been a disappointment
I
all
agree.
year.
It's been a mixture.
Yeah, I mean, just with like just Burrow's injury could be a weird could factor.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean,
no, for sure. Injuries have been a problem for them, but they'll bounce back. All right, Mason, you got the next award here. Kick it off.
All right, so for the next one, I got the Iron Man award, which is someone who didn't miss a game and stayed pretty consistent throughout the year. We have Travis Etienne. He's played all 13 games. There was a little injury scare one game. I think he missed a little bit of time, but he's still – I think he's running back 2 right now. He's had 7 games as an RB1, 3 games as an RB2, and only 3 games as an RB3 or worse. He's just been very consistent. I mean, Lawrence loves him. They've had that connection. Just great season. I mean, he did a lot better than I was thinking he would do this year. Tank Bigsby just is completely irrelevant. So Etienne's had a great year.
Yeah, no complaints there. I expected Tank Bigsby to eat into this role a little bit, but nope. So he deserves this.
Absolutely. I mean, there were a lot of fantasy analysts preseason that were decreeing Travis Etienne's downfall, that he was going to fall off, that he wasn't going to be RB1, that Tank Bigsby was going to take a huge amount. And, yeah, dude's been Mr. Consistent and really solidified himself as a top 5 dynasty running back going forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely top 5 dynasty going forward.
Absolutely.
And I mean, just him and Lawrence, just that.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
All
that
right, so we got Lee kicking off. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
All right.
All right.
Sorry,
yes,
it's choppy on my end. Hopefully the audio's not cutting up too much here. But Lee, you got the next award here.
Yes, sir. So performance of the year, I think when we talked about these off air, I think it was the first one that came to mind. It was the obvious one. Devon Achane against the Denver Broncos. Absolutely a coming out party. He was sitting on a lot of fantasy benches that week when he went off. I know he had 4 touchdowns. I know Raheem Mostert had over 40 points, and he was not the highest scoring running back on his own team. This is a guy who really, with one game, put himself on the map and had fantasy owners everywhere turning their head. He had an unfortunate injury, but this is a guy really not – and pretty much every game he's been healthy, outside of maybe last week, he has shown enormous potential. But that game alone, I mean, just the explosiveness, what he was able to do against that Denver Broncos defense, which didn't look good at the time, but has really turned into a pretty good defense. That's a guy who shot up his value with one game.
100%. The other performances we had listed, Christian McCaffrey against Arizona in week 4 put up 45.2 points. DJ Moore against Washington in week 5 had 45 points. And Jamar Chase against Arizona. So 2 of the 4 top performances we listed against Arizona. And Jamar had 44.7 points in week 5 against them. So we'll send it off to the next award we have here. This is the waiver wire ad of the year. And I think everybody knows who it is. It's Puka Nacua. If you were able to get him right at the beginning of the year, congratulations to you. You got wide receiver 10 on the week or on the year. Right now, he's 10th in targets, 10th in receptions, and 5th in receiving yards. Dude has been absolutely producing. We had a guy in one of our main redraft leagues. He thought that because he's in our Dynasty league, he thought that the waiver wire fab would reset. And it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just one waiver wire fab. He dropped 100 of our $200 on Puka. We all made fun of him, and then it ended up being the best possible move he could have made. So, congrats to Austin if you're watching out there. You got to steal. All right. So, Lee, if you're good to take this one, you would have been up next. This is going to be the Gotcha Award. Somebody who looked like they were going to be great early on, but disappeared throughout the season.
Can I take the MVP and the next person take Gotcha? Because I don't have.
Yeah,
the,
I got
no
Madison over here. So
All right,
Madison through the first 5 weeks, 11.9, 3.4, 15, 10, 11. One game over 10 points since then. This is the past 5 weeks. But yeah, so I think he came out pretty good, pretty strong. I expected him to continue that going forward. Nobody even came in to kind of replace him, but it was just falling off.
Yeah, definitely a disappointment with how that backfield's turned out, and Madison still can't really get it going this late in the season. It's been disappointing.
Yeah, it killed me in my league of record, the league I've been running for 13 years. I was really counting on him to be an RB1, and he has not been.
Yep. All right, then you want to take Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, man. So I think this is an obvious one as well. I mean, there's really only one choice for Rookie of the Year. CJ Stroud has had one of the best seasons for a rookie quarterback in the history of the league, notwithstanding the concussion game last week and really struggling. Dude has been just a straight baller the entire season. He's elevated Tank Dell. He's elevated Nico Collins. That guy looks like a top 6 Dynasty quarterback going forward. I mean, he's elevated his value a ton, and he has made the Panthers single-handedly fire everybody in the building.
Yeah, it is true about that. I mean, CJ Stroud's definitely been the most impressive rookie. In the couple weeks in, I traded a package for Josh Allen, and it was Josh Allen and a couple other pieces for Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, and a couple other pieces. CJ Stroud is just below Josh Allen for me right now. So, like, that was a steal of a deal in my opinion. But
100%. And Mason, we'll hand it off to you for the MVP of this season.
All right. Well, it's, Christian McCaffrey. He's been doing what we've seen him do when healthy for years. This is just the first year that he's actually been healthy throughout the whole season. I hope I did not just jinx the Niners, but McCaffrey, this is just what he does when he's healthy. Some people were skeptical about drafting him again because of the injury concerns, but he's proven that all wrong. He's absolutely killed it. He's at 285.4 points on the season, has 80.5 more points than any RB, than the number 2 RB and PPR and half PPR. Sorry, has played every game. 12 finishes as an RB1, and only 2 finishes as RB2 through 14 weeks. That's pretty amazing. I don't know what you could say wrong about Christian McCaffrey. He's had 2 weeks
with
insane.
You can't argue.
Yeah,
I mean, I would
the
say
3 leagues I missed playoffs in, I took Justin Jefferson in the. Oh man, we all jumped on it.
You're good.
But yeah, I wish I took CMC over Justin Jefferson.
Same. This is what I was
You and everybody else.
Yep, the 101.
Earmuffs, Mason.
Yeah.
If San Francisco wins the Super Bowl this year, that will go down as one of the best trades in NFL history, and it may anyway. But if they win it this year, that's going to be one of the best trades ever made.
Oh yeah, and all these ESPN analysis were ranking it as like a C- trade grade for the Niners, and it's just like, okay, this guy's kind of carrying our team right now.
Yeah. And I'll cruise through these. This is the best value at each position. We do got Brock Purdy, his ADP right now he is QB5. Raheem Mostert, his ADP was RB40. He is now RB2 on the season. Nico Collins, tough injury right now, but he was drafted as the wide receiver 57, and right now, even with the injury last week, wide receiver 12. And then we got Sam Laporta. He was drafted as tight end 16 and is the tight end 4 on the season. Those guys absolutely crushing it, giving you top tier performances week in and week out, and didn't have to spend much on them. But we are going to end it here with the wheel of misfortune. We're going to bring up the wheel here.
Yeah.
All right.
Last week's
so
picks
Lee,
were
you
not
won
good.
last week. Mason, you came in second, third, and you see Evan's face there on the wheel.
Nice.
He is last.
Jordan Addison, Sam Laporta.
Why don't you kick it off?
Yeah. So just
all right, Lee, kick it off with the quarterback rankings.
Real quick, I must say, since I came on board, I don't think I've been below second. So yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think my face is getting up there, but I might jinx myself.
I won back weeks. So
I was going to bring it up. You've been consistent, but I am looking to put you on that wheel sometime soon.
Appreciate that. Well, hopefully not this year anyway, but I'll run through these quarterback rankings. It was really tough. And I went Joe Flacco, number 1, which is crazy to even say out loud. He's got Chicago. Defense has been playing better, but Flacco's looked good. Will Levis against Houston, number 2. This is a lot of matchup and how he looked against a pretty tough Miami defense. Derek Carr, really just based on reputation and the weapons he has against the Giants. Desmond Ridder against Carolina. I don't trust him. Don't trust him at all. But the Carolina defense is definitely open. Mitch Trubisky. It hurts me to even talk bad about him as a Carolina guy, but he ain't it. He did put together a decent performance. Garbage time mostly. He's not a guy I want to start. And then Zach Wilson. Miami is a tough matchup, and I do not believe Zach Wilson can have two good games in a row.
My rankings are identical, top to bottom. So, well done.
We're simpatico, man. We're simpatico.
Yeah, today we're on it, man.
Oh, and he got him.
Give me
Joe Flacco. Top man off the
Flacco.
board. Love seeing that as a Browns fan. Flacco's been doing great. Put up the most passing yards the Browns have seen all season last week. All right. Mason, you got Desmond Ridder.
I'm going to take Ridder just because of the matchup. I mean, not my top choice, but I think against Carolina, he could have a good week.
Yeah.
Carolina's
I think he
not
put up the most points he has all season last week. So coming off a hot streak here. That leaves me with Mitch Trubisky. He is my number 5 ranked quarterback. So I am going to pass on him. Hope that I can get Levis or Derek Carr here. Evan, on to you, sir.
Yep.
All right. So
I'll take Carr.
I am really just hoping. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm hoping for the banana man, Will Levis. Let's see it. No wheel. Don't do it to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Solid.
Wow.
Oh, man. I thought I was going to waste it there. But
Good
we
wheel
will
for
kick it over to Mason for the running back rankings. In case you guys couldn't tell, we did streamers for the quarterbacks. We went the opposite way with the running backs. Mason, take it away.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a pretty good list. At number 1, I got CMC against Arizona. It's Christian McCaffrey. How can you not rank him as the number 1? And then Kyron Williams against Washington. Kyron's been great all year. Kamara versus Giants. Bijan at Carolina. DeAndre Swift against Seattle as my number 5. And I got Derrick Henry as the last. That Houston running defense, it started off pretty well. It's kind of improving a lot more. I think it's going to be more a pass-heavy game for the Titans. Derrick Henry, you're banking off that upside of the touchdown pretty much. He's had some games where he has not been efficient this year.
All right. Yeah, I'm pretty much simpatico with you as well. I'm just gonna spin this thing. Let's see how it goes.
Pin it.
Ooh.
I'll take it. I mean, I wanted CMC, but I'm not going to complain about my number 2. I know Evan really likes him, so I might not still have him. But
I was just gonna say,
Why
even
not?
if you landed him with your second spin, good chance that Evan steals that away.
All these
here.
guys are generally studs, though. So I wasted a steal last week with all stud tight ends, too. So I might save it.
I've seen high school defenses better than Washington's. Just saying.
I'm gonna take DeAndre Swift here. Seattle's been terrible against the run over the back half. He is not one of my top 3 ranked, but I do still like the matchup. So I'll take him there.
And I mean, Swift's had 2 rough games in a row, but so has the entire Philly offense. So maybe that changes.
Right. Evan, you got Bijan Robinson against Carolina. What are you thinking?
I'll take
Pass.
Take it.
Pass, Evan.
I'll take it. Let's see what you got.
Hey, man, CMC's still out there. So
Come on. Come on.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Christian McCaffrey. I know he'll take him. So, Evan, what are you doing here? You got your steal available.
I think I'm holding my steal. I think I'm holding it. Bijan is not worth it. I don't think. I made the mistake last week. Let's see if the wheel can teach me a good lesson here. Probably not. Though. Probably going to bone me again.
We could have about 40 points here from one position going Christian McCaffrey. I was just telling you I want to put you on this wheel next week. I don't think that's a possibility now that you got CMC. So we got the wide receivers coming up here. Most of them have a stack opportunity. If they don't have a stack opportunity with the quarterback here, then the quarterback has a stack opportunity with the tight end. We got Amari Cooper at Chicago, Drake London at Carolina, George Pickens at Indianapolis, Garrett Wilson at Miami, DeAndre Hopkins at home against Houston, and Chris Olave playing against the Giants at home. Right now, these guys are mostly the top 4 are pretty close. But I got Amari Cooper. He's been just peppered with targets, and Chicago's got a weak secondary. Chris Olave, big play waiting to happen. Derek Carr hasn't been targeting him downfield nearly as much as I would like to see, but he's always a threat. Garrett Wilson going up against Miami. Lee touched on it earlier. It is a tough matchup. Despite what Miami allowed the Titans to do last week, they still have 2 stud cornerbacks in Howard and Ramsey. So not playing with that too much. DeAndre Hopkins, without the news of CJ Stroud coming out or not, if Stroud's in this game, I like Hopkins maybe up to wide receiver 3 on this list, maybe even wide receiver 2. But without knowing that Stroud's going to be in this game, we don't know if it's going to be a shootout. If Stroud's not in this game, I could see them leaning on Derrick Henry pretty heavily and just winning the game on the ground. And then we got Drake London coming off of a career performance last week. However, Carolina has actually limited both quarterbacks and wide receivers, mainly because you can just run the ball at will. I don't think they're an impressive secondary necessarily. JC Horn, whatever. Horn, yeah, he's a great cornerback. He's just run into some injury troubles. So Drake London at 5, and then the ever so inconsistent George Pickens down at number 6. Maybe would have been wide receiver 5 if Pickett was there, but even with Pickett, he has been so hit or miss this year. So that is my rankings. You guys have any big disparities amongst them?
I got Garrett Wilson up a little bit higher. He's actually, I think him and Zach Wilson, he's just going to keep getting peppered. He's going to keep getting peppered this week, and I think that he'll be productive with that.
Yeah, I believe it's 14 targets, 7 receptions last week.
Yeah, 14 targets. Crazy.
Yeah,
we're 6 for 6 again, Dan. I don't know what's going on here. We may be connected.
Hey, man, I'm going to have to come down to Washington and hang out sometime, man.
North Carolina?
North Carolina, yes, sir.
Oh, North Carolina. You know, whatever. That's not
close enough. You make it to Washington, I'll meet you.
Yeah.
There we go. We'll go down for a game. Watch Sam Howell do his thing. All right. He is ranked number 3 for me. However, probably the most talented of this wide receiver group. So I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to save my last skip for next round unless Evan steals this. But I'll take Garrett Wilson here. On to Evan for his pick.
Ooh, yeah, I'm taking Olave.
That's a nice pick right there. I know you're a big Michael Thomas guy, and there's news that he can come back sooner than later. So
I don't think he's back next week, though.
not next week. I agree with that. All right, Lee's got Drake London against Carolina.
We'll take it.
All right.
Anybody but Pickens.
Anybody but Pickens. That's right.
Yeah, that's all
All
I'm
right,
hoping for.
Mason.
All right, I'm good with Coop. Let's take Amari Cooper.
Ooh.
Just hopefully
Love
Hopefully
yelling Coop during the games. All right, so we're on to our tight ends. Evan, take it away with the rankings.
Yeah, so my number one ranked. So actually, I'll go through them real quick. Dallas Goedert at Seattle, Jake Ferguson at Buffalo, Trey McBride at San Fran, Isaiah Likely at Jacksonville, Dalton Schultz at Tennessee, Cole Kmet at Cleveland, and it's going to be kind of tiered from that. Cole Kmet's going to be at the caboose for me against Cleveland, tough matchup, and I never really trust Cole Kmet. Jake Ferguson, another guy I never really trust. He's going to be my number 5 here. Against Buffalo, it's kind of a tougher defense, but they are pretty banged up too. So they have so many options there in Dallas. Jake Ferguson can be an afterthought there. Dalton Schultz against Tennessee. This is his first game back. Normally I would have him ranked much higher, like not like top 2 category, but I don't know. There's no CJ Stroud. Likely he might be in concussion protocol, but they also don't have too many other options to throw to. So that maybe my miss guy there. Isaiah Likely, I like. He had a great game last week for me, and I love Isaiah Likely. I'm an owner of Isaiah Likely. So that may be a little biased on my rankings here. Then I got Dallas Goedert. I also really love Dallas Goedert. Seattle is, I don't know how they are against the tight end specifically, but that defense can allow some points. And then Trey McBride, this was a little risky. He's my number 1, but there's just nobody else to throw the ball to. That's big for Kyler Murray. And him and Kyler Murray have such a connection. I'm still ranking him number 1.
Yeah,
Trey McBride's going to win me a championship. Let's go.
love me some Trey McBride. Really wish I had a few more shares of him in Dynasty, but our rankings are moderately similar. Nothing that I'm gonna really create a fuss about. So we'll spin that thing. Let's see what you got, mate. Or Evan.
I honestly gotta say Trey McBride on me is way lower. The Niners, we got 30 middle linebackers, man. Like,
Yeah.
No, you
Give
guys
up
have been
thousands
winning
of targets.
tight ends, but
Give
I
up
do
the
think they're gonna have
least
to pass all day long. So, all right, what are you thinking? Dalton Schultz practicing full today, going up against the Titans.
I'll take him out of the wheel. I'm hoping to get a steal here.
The doctor.
Okay, I see your tactics.
Yeah.
All right, Lee, let's see who you got here.
Give me T. McBee. Oh, I'll take him.
I like it. I got Likely starting over Goddard in one of my actual leagues. Just waiting to see it from Goddard back from injury before we start him, and Likely had a great last week.
all right,
Speak
I'll
of the
take
devil, you're taking him?
Yeah, I'll take Dallas Goedert for sure. Not going to use a single skip this week.
I like it.
Me either.
And I like all the guys on the wheel right now. This is unusual.
The snake.
Hell yeah. I'm firing up Jake Ferguson. Another
Nobody
game
got
where
Trey.
hold on, what'd you say?
Nobody got Trey. I'm stealing Goddard.
Come on, man. Who'd you have?
Not me.
The betrayal. The betrayer.
The betrayal. All right, so Mason, that does leave you with another spin if you want it.
That's a tough 50-50. Or you take Schultz.
Man, I just said I don't really like Trey McBride, but I like him more than Schultz, so let's spin it.
Let's spin it.
Come on, Cole Kmet. Spin that
Come
thing.
on.
I
Come
love
on.
it.
You get my number one.
I guess.
Stuck with him.
That is
Can't
just
move
my
on
luck with
now.
the deal.
It's funny, you guys
Really?
all really wanted him, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
about it.
right. That's how
The
life
thing
works.
is,
Honestly.
like you can watch this game and you will not have to root against your team. They're going to still crush the Cardinals, and you can still root for McBride to get 10 targets and 100 yards.
Yeah, but I want to win by like 30.
Upset of the week.
It's in
The
college.
Cardinals
It ain't
beat the
going to make a
49ers.
difference. All right. So that does it for this week of Fantasy Rant. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure you join back next week. We'll have some more content here for the upcoming playoff matchups. Hope you guys win your matchups, unless you're playing me. Have a good one, y'all.
Peace.
Playoffs.